Noise, 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 noise.
I don't know. Hi, welcome to Ed's Eats. I'm the chef owner of Ed's Lobster Bar. Today I'm making filet, seared filet. As always, the ingredients speak for themselves. So we're gonna season that with salt and pepper, but before we get to that, the complete dish. Pan-seared filet, we're gonna make mashed potato, asparagus with shallots. You can use any potato you want. You wanna use Yukon potatoes, you wanna use Idaho potatoes, whatever potato you have. Peel it, soak it in water, get the starch out, put it in cold water, bring it to a boil with a lot of salt. That's no surprise coming out of my mouth when I say a lot of salt. Make sure there's a lot of salt in the water. Taste it. Put the salt in, taste it. You want to taste a little bit of salt, just like you were cooking pasta. We're going to start off first by getting our potatoes in the water, bringing that up to a boil, and then we're going to do the rest of the dish. The potatoes take the longest, cook them in advance, have it sitting on the back of your stove hot and ready to go. Then cook your steaks and your asparagus. That's the best way to do it. Don't try and time this all out so the potato is ready after you sear the steak while the steak is resting, etc. Make your potato, cover the pot with foil, leave it sitting on the back of the stove. We're gonna mix it with a lot of butter and cream. So to get started here, I have my Idaho potatoes, which I already peeled and cut up, uniform size so they cook evenly. You see I just cut them into, they're not really any perfect size, just close enough that they're going to cook evenly. We want to cook them until you poke a knife through it and it goes right through and comes right out, or the potato kind of starts to break apart. One of the big surprising things that you're going to see when we do this is once the potato's cooked and we strain it, we're going to let it dry out a little bit. We want the potatoes to dry. It's a big key before we add our butter and our cream in, that the potato dries out a little bit. That's going to help keep the texture really nice. So I'm going to drain the water out of this. We're going to put this in a pot, bring it up to a boil. So I have my water on the back of the stove already. It's going to come up to a boil now. Salted, ready. And I would say the way we have the potatoes cut, we're looking at probably approximately 15 minutes for that to cook. To get started with our asparagus, you'll see I have my asparagus, they're cleaned, and I have the shallot. And we're not going to do anything special with the shallot. We're just going to kind of do a rough chop with it. I'm not about uniformity. You're cooking at home. This is just about having fun, enjoying yourselves, enjoying the food with your family and your guests. So I'm going to slice the shallot. And then I'm just going to do a rough chop over it. And you see that's really it. You see what the shallot looks like here. It's nothing, it's just a rough chop. There's no uniformity of the size. We're going to sweat that a little bit first. Once that's sweating means we're going to cook it lightly in butter on low heat until it starts to get soft. Then we're going to add our asparagus into that pan. So we're going to get that started first. A little pinch of salt in there as always. And we're just going to let that cook down nice and slow. We want it to stay translucent, not any color right now. We just want them to get soft and let all of the flavor come out into the pan. Okay, so our shallots are looking pretty damn perfect. We're going to take a little taste here with our finger because, like I said, you got to taste everything as you're doing this. Just a quick dab and you get that awesome flavor of the shallot with butter. It is fantastic. You're going to love this. So we're going to add our asparagus in here. I'm going to add a little more salt into that because everything's got to be seasoned, right? We're going to keep that on low heat. We're just going to let them slowly cook in there. This is not a typical technique for cooking asparagus. Most of the time you would boil them in water like I would haricot vert, or you would grill them, bake them on a sheet pan. This is a little bit different. If you're a little worried about your asparagus not cooking or burning the pan, you're not really great with controlling the heat, what we can do here is we can add a little bit of water in. So I'll show you how that looks in the pan. We're going to add a little bit of water. So we'll add a little bit of water in here. And that's kind of just to aid in the cooking. So this way, if you're concerned about it burning, we'll add a little bit of water, and it's not really going to affect anything. It's not going to change anything you're doing here. But if you have an issue with controlling the heat on your stove, this will keep the shallot and asparagus from burning. At the end, we are going to get a little color in this pan. Once the asparagus is cooking down, we will get a little color in here. So if you get a little color now, it's not the end of the world, but you really want to save that for the end because you don't want anything to burn. Our asparagus is slow cooking, and as with everything, it's all about just the ingredient itself. So we're not going to put any special dry rub on this. I'm not going to make any special sauce to put on this. If you want to make a chimichurri sauce, that you can do that. You want some sauce to dip your meat in, it's perfectly okay, but for me, I'm cooking a steak. It's all about getting that nice sear on the outside of the meat. I do that with salt and pepper and really, really high heat in the pan. And for steak, unlike fish, I like to put a lot of pepper on, as opposed to fish where I really very lightly sprinkle the pepper. This, I'm gonna almost make it like it's a pepper crust. Salt on there. Flip those over. And you'll see I'm very heavily salting them. I really like the outside sear of the meat to be very, very well seasoned. So for these fillets, generally we don't want to cook them over medium rare, but as always, it's personal preference how you like your steak cooked. If you like it rare, medium, you know, cook it to the temperature that you like. I don't have an exact specific time that we're going to say. I cook meat by feeling the meat with my hands. I've been trained to do that. You can get a meat thermometer and poke it. They work fantastic. I use them for large cuts of meat all the time if I'm cooking pork shoulder or a large cut of beef. But for something like this, a steak, it's always good just to kind of learn to feel it. One tip I can give you is that your steak is perfect medium when you see the blood just about to rise to the surface, so it starts to get moist on the outside as it's cooking. You'll see it get almost like the blood is about to come out of the meat. If that's happening, your steak is medium. If the blood's come out, your steak is going to be medium well or well done. So that's just a little tip I can give you. I think, you know, you're looking at probably, you know, 10 to 12 minutes total cooking time if you're cooking the steak medium rare at this size at 6 ounces. I'm going to pull an asparagus here and take a bite while we're cooking because we're getting ready to throw our steaks on. The taste is fantastic. They're about halfway cooked. Still delicious. We're going to add a touch more salt to that. And once our steaks are ready, we're going to turn the heat up on that, get just a touch of color in the pan, and we're going to be good to go. We're going to sear our steaks now. When cooking the steaks, you really want to have a very, very hot pan. I know that's the biggest issue people have when they're cooking at home. They don't want to make the pan hot, or they're afraid of the oil splashing, grease flying, their grill isn't hot enough. All of these things are the sole reasons that your meat doesn't taste as good as it should and doesn't get that perfect sear. So do not be afraid. Make the pan hot. When it's smoking hot, that's when you put your meat in. It gets that great sear. You can turn it down once it's in there. And what we're going to do today, once we have the meat seared on one side, I have my oven at 450 degrees. We're going to flip it over and put it in the oven for about 5 to 7 minutes. That's going to be our approximate cooking time. It's going to be maybe 3 to 4 minutes on top of the stove, and then about 5 to 7 minutes inside the oven, giving us about 10 to 12 minutes cooking time. We're going to be somewhere between rare and medium rare on our cooking temperature with these. We have our pan. It's really hot. You're going to see when I put the oil in, and we don't need a lot of oil in here, just a little bit. See how the pan is smoking? I don't know if the camera's getting that or not. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn, it's smoking, so now I'm going to turn it down, and we're going to take this nice side of the steak and we're going to drop it in there. We're going to do the same thing with our other steak. I'm going to turn the gas back up because I really want to make sure I get that great sear on there. And you're gonna see, we're gonna say it's approximately 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes to get a really great sear on here on high heat. And I'll show you the crust. It's gonna be like hard cardboard on the outside when we touch it. And that's what's really locking the flavor into your meat when you cook these fillets. So the potato is ready to be strained. I'm gonna pull that off the stove. I'm gonna drain it. And I'm putting it right back in the heat over there, even though the gas is not on. I really want this potato to dry out a little bit before I mash it up. It's gonna make a very, very big difference. While that potato is drying, while I'm cooking the steaks, I'm gonna get another pan, a small pot, and I'm gonna heat up my cream so my cream is hot, but my butter is only room temperature. So our steaks are ready to be flipped over here. And let me just show you this beautiful crust on there. I didn't do anything special. All I did was use high heat and a very small amount of oil in the pan. So we're gonna flip that over. And take a look at this one too. It's exactly the same. Hot pan, a little bit of oil, salt and pepper makes the perfect crust. You don't need any of those special spice rubs on your steak. This is the way to do it. This is how we do it. All you need for flavor, quality meat, salt and pepper. So those are gonna go in the oven for about 5 to 7 minutes. While that's in the oven, we're gonna finish all the rest of our dishes. We're gonna turn the heat up on our asparagus now to medium high and get a little saute on it. So here's our cream coming to a boil. So our shallots are looking pretty fantastic right now. Let's take a look at the pan. You can see the sizzle going on. There's no burn. We've gotten just a little bit of color. And that's all we're looking for right here. This is ready to go. We can sit that on the back of the stove. We'll see our cream came to a boil. So we're gonna just turn that off. I use a very tall-sided pot so it wouldn't boil over. Our potatoes can go right back in the pot that we boiled them in. Right in there. We're going to dump all this butter right on top of our potatoes and we're going to mash it all in together. Try not to break your stove in the process. So we want to use whole butter, not melted butter. It mixes into the potato better, and you'll use less cream that way. So I'm probably only going to use a little bit of cream in here from what I mixed there, but we're going to get that a quick mix there. Oh yeah, it's looking good. Add just a little bit of this cream in. Mix that around. So, once again, quick taste. Now, I salted the water, so I don't need to add any salt to this potato. Pepper is really optional here. I'm not going to add any pepper into this. And simple, everybody, simple. Remember simple. I'm teaching you how to do things that are simple. These are all simple techniques. It's not so much about the recipe. It's just about how easy it is to do this. You can adapt and adjust, a little more cream, a little more butter, a little less of each item, however you like to do it at the end of the day. It's not about exact recipes here. It's just about enjoying what you're doing and everybody enjoying the meal that you prepared for them. Just to show you how they're cooking in the oven. They're looking pretty fantastic. These are still a little rare, and I tell just by pushing down on them. So they've probably been in the oven about 3 or 4 minutes, but look at the crust on the other side now. Just from sitting in the oven because we started in a hot saute pan. It crusts up really nice. You know, one tip I think I left out at the beginning of the video is that one of the other keys to cooking your steaks is to make sure the meat's at room temperature. You want to have the meat out, 30 minutes before you're ready to cook it. Let it get up to room temperature. it's really going to aid in the cooking process. Put a potato here. Asparagus on here. Oh, that asparagus is so full of flavor. And it's looking good. Should get that shallot on top of there. That's delicious. So put the extra butter out. Oh. You know, as always, I can't wait to actually sit down and eat. It's super exciting. I mean, when you cook something that you truly love, it's just exciting. I mean, everybody gets the excitement. Everybody around you, whoever's eating with you, they can see the enjoyment, and it makes it even better for them. Even if you make a mistake, it doesn't taste exactly the way it should, it's not going to come off of them. It's going to be perfect. Just keep that in mind. It's all about your energy, too, towards the food that you're cooking. So, we've got beautiful steaks. We want to rest our steaks for maybe 3 or 4 minutes before we cut them or serve them. But we're going to present this now, and I really am ready to go. Oh, look at this. And this is a dish we serve now at Ed's Lobster Bar in Soho. It was just added to the menu for this fall. Pan-seared filet with mashed potato and seasonal market veg. Okay, so this is the pan-seared filet with mashed potato and seasonal market veg. Today it's asparagus. It could be broccoli, it could be haricot vert, it could be sauteed spinach, whatever you have available, whatever you can get fresh, that's the most important thing. If all you had was carrot to serve with it, serve carrots. It's not about the actual vegetable that's there, and you can make every single vegetable that I just mentioned the exact same preparation. Sweat the shallots, add the vegetable in, even if it's spinach, saute it, beautiful. Carrots, same thing, haricot vert, broccoli, you can do them all the same way. So that's the important part of it. The dish looks great. We're going to slice up one of these steaks because I can't wait to eat. I've been waiting for this for 20 minutes now to be prepared. So we're going to get a little slice. These steaks are on the rarer side, but I mean, to me, this is almost the best part of eating the steak is touching my finger on the top of the steak, and I mean, the flavor is amazing.
Move the tongs.
Oh, sorry. In this part, you really have to have a sharp knife to cut your steak. Look how beautifully this is cooked. This is a nice medium rare. I'll hold the piece up so you can see that how perfect this medium rare is. I mean, it's really beautiful steak. And for me, this is the perfect way to cook the steak. I'm not a big fan of a black and blue steak, which means it's just seared and completely rare on the inside. And I really don't want my steak medium. I like it cooked medium rare. It's just, to me, it's the best temperature steak to be cooked. Especially if you're using a quality meat. Quality piece of meat, you don't want to cook it more than that. So, take this over here on our plate. Spin it around. Rachel. And if you want a little coarse sea salt on top, makes it perfect. We're going to eat now. This is the way we do it. End of story. There's nothing more to say about this. Make your filet. Make your asparagus, make your mashed potato, make it this simple. This is the way you should be doing it. Don't add extra ingredients. None of that is necessary. Thank you for watching Ed's Eats. I look forward to seeing you again, and please make sure to like and comment in the videos and watch my other videos. They're all just like this. If you like this, you're gonna like the rest of them. Just click right next to the video. Watch the next one. Look forward to seeing you again soon on Ed's Eats.